Hello and welcome to State View. I'm Mark Crosby of Quincy Access Television. Thank you, as always, for watching all the programs here at QATV. State View is a program that looks at legislation on Beacon Hill and helps you to stay informed and really what does it all mean to you. This program is carried by many centers, many access centers throughout the Commonwealth. So we certainly appreciate those centers for picking up this program and airing it. Joining me today, a special guest, the House Speaker, Ron Mariano, has decided to stop by. And of course, Mr. Speaker, we should say that last time, it's great to have you, first of all. Last time you were sitting in my seat and you were hosting a program. It was about the senior tax credit, which is still something that people should look into. We are recording this program on April 2nd.
Yeah, you have until the 17th to get it in, and it's a great opportunity for folks over 65 to stay in their home and get some relief for their water bill and their taxes. So.
There are folks that aren't aware that this credit exists.
Yeah, that's why the program is so important. We have someone from the Department of Revenue sit with us and go through the whole process, so everyone sees it, how really simple it is. It's more the act of filing the return and just punching in the numbers that are on your tax return and submitting it. And then, lo and behold, if you're eligible, a check arrives in the mail and you're up to right now, we raised the limits in the last tax cut we did. You can get up to $2,300, I think, is the max, which is a nice little Christmas present around tax time. So.
It is, absolutely. And my mother is one that makes use of that.
That's great. The more people I hear about who've taken advantage of it, the better it is for all of us. It's a state program that really worked at its core. It was when the water rates were really high and folks were struggling, people over 65 were struggling to stay in their homes. And we came up with this plan and it's worked. It's worked tremendously. So it's one of the things where we just hit it right. So.
I just wanted to start the program mentioning that we have swapped chairs.
I get confused over here.
There is a lot to talk about today. I do want to begin with Steward Healthcare and how folks are affected by that. There are still 9 hospitals in the Commonwealth.
8.
Are there 8?
One's a rehab facility.
Okay.
So it's not a real hospital.
But talk about the current situation.
Well, the current situation is not good. You've got hospitals that are underperforming, hospitals that don't have supplies, hospitals that are falling into disrepair because no maintenance has been done, doctors without the right tools, instrumentation missing from the procedures that they should be used at, a whole series of incidences amongst the 8 hospitals, all because of the change in the structure of Steward. Now, the Quincy experience with Steward was not good, but it was nowhere near the experience that these other 7 hospitals are going through now. These 7 hospitals, which were bought and paid for by Cerberus, which was a venture capital company, they bought them from Caritas Christi, the Catholic Church in Massachusetts, and were trying to run it in a profitable venture. Quincy was trying to run in a profitable program, but because of a lot of different reasons, mostly some debt financing issues that we don't have to go into because it's past and there's nothing we can do about it now. We ended up having to close. Now we're in a situation where Steward has taken action themselves to be in this difficult financial position they're in today. They sold all the land that these hospitals were on. They sold it to a holding company, which Ralph DeLatorre, the president of Stewart is also a majority stockholder. So the land that they sold, particularly the two examples I'll highlight, and I don't hold me to the numbers; these are rough estimates. Zuccotti used to cost $7 million a year to rent the property, and now it's probably around 13 or 14. St. Elizabeth's was about 12. Now it's over 20. So you can see Stewart now is paying rent into a holding company for property they used to own to one of the owners of the holding company being Ralph DeLatorre, the president of Stewart. So you can see it's a convoluted financing plan that when you add it up, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I, for one, have said publicly, and I will continue to say publicly, we will not help finance this scheme that they seem to be running at Stewart. We have constantly battled with them because one of the restrictions you have in healthcare is every hospital has to submit their financial plan to the HPC. Stewart refuses. They have never submitted their finances to the state for reevaluation. So what has happened is they've we took them to court. We won. They still refused and appealed the decision. The case is now going through the court system on appeal. So we still don't know how they spend their money. But we do know Mr. DeLatorre has two boats, one of them a $40 million yacht. It's not a boat, it's a yacht.
I just have a kayak, by the way.
Yeah, well, I don't even have that. I have a pail. And another one is a sport fishing boat that's very expensive. And he has planes. He has a couple of planes. Along with hospitals all over the world. He has a hospital in Malta. Lord knows why Stewart needs a hospital in Malta, but evidently they did. And money was spent. We don't know if the money came out of Massachusetts. We don't know if the money that should have gone to expenses at St. Elizabeth's ends up in Malta. We have no idea. And to me, that's just a blatant disregard for the regulations that we try to impose to keep some degree of control over costs. Now we're in a situation where the beds are in jeopardy. If these hospitals were to close, we would have to make up those beds somewhere. Now, the good news is we have a very experienced secretary at the helm of Health and Human Services. She ran a Boston Medical Center for a long time and had dealings with Ralph. Not always pleasant dealings, but always had dealings with them when they were competitive hospitals. So she understands some of Ralph's motivations and understands his thought process. So she has prepared alternatives if all of a sudden Stewart were to disappear. We would be able to limp along until we could reposition some of these hospitals. But I look at this now as an opportunity to say we have a stressed healthcare system now, with not enough mental health beds, with not enough beds for people to recuperate in. So this could be an opportunity to take some of these hospitals that may move offline in the Stewart chain and use them to backfill our mental health beds and backfill some of the beds we need for waiting patients to go home. So I think that from any problems that happen, sometimes you can take it and spin it around and make a positive out of it. And we're hoping we can do that with some of this Stewart stuff. But as for right now, as it stands, there isn't much we can do because Stewart is privately owned. We don't have any idea what the finances are. We don't want to be viewed as interfering in their opportunity to make a profit, because then we can be sued. So we want to make sure that what we do is within the legal limits of what we can do. And one of the things that we land upon is we have to wait to see how long they can exist bleeding money the way they're bleeding money. They seem to borrow money and people lend it to them, which is always amazing to me. I can't go borrow $40 million, but Ralph seems to be able to do that whenever he needs it. But so there are some real questions. And you know, right now, everyone's looking at Stewart trying to figure out what their plan is. But my feeling is our reaction is irrelevant to what Stewart is going to do. We have to wait for them to make a decision on how they want to operate. I don't necessarily think we need them in Massachusetts. I think we could survive without them. It would take some readjustment. You know, you have a hospital in Norwood that Stewart owns that no one's ever stayed in. I mean, they're willing to sell that, so I'm sure we have a buyer for that. That'll be a big help. Then we have, you know, Stewart isn't making money at the county, isn't making money at as much money at St. E's. So there are people interested in partnering. So there is still activity, but until Stewart makes some decisions, we are pretty much in a holding pattern. So
The next topic I'd like to discuss is the migrant crisis. And
you and me both.
Governor Maura Healey has mentioned on many occasions that the state of Massachusetts, is at capacity.
Not only are we at capacity, but we're going broke.
And I think as of the taping of this program, whether it's true or not, or will happen or not, we don't know, but Florida Governor Ron DeSantis mentioned that he has another plane ready to bring more migrants to, I think, Martha's Vineyard.
Well, no one cares what he does. He's really irrelevant to the process, because people are walking over the border as faster than he can put them on a plane, and they're getting here. We continue to see about 100 people a day, between 70 and 100.
Right here in Quincy.
Well, in Boston, not necessarily in Quincy. They disperse from Boston around the state. The governor's tried to share the burden. Quincy has done more than its share. I will add that we've taken an awful lot in the college campus at Eastern Nazarene. Which was a good fit for Eastern Nazarene. The dorms are filled, they're getting paid, help them through some difficult times. But it doesn't solve the problem. The problem is that our cost for this year is going to be over $980 million to house and feed the immigrant population that we've taken in this year. It gets us through the year just about. But it does nothing for next year. There's no indication that Congress can fix the mess that they created. This is a problem that Congress created. Their inactivity on the border, their reluctance to develop a policy that works is an insult to all of us. The fact of the matter is that, you know, Biden did put forth a plan. He put forth a plan that would have shut the border down. It would have given us some breathing room. In the House, the Republican-led House, on the advice of former President Trump, never took the proposal up. And neither did the Senate, which was very disappointing because the Democrats control the Senate. So the opportunity to shut down the border and slow down the traffic that's coming across the border was lost. So we're looking at going into the next budget year, not this year, next budget year, before the president is even elected, we'll have to put our budget together. And we're going to be looking at $1 billion deficit, not 980 million, but about $1 billion, or maybe a little more, over the course of the year that we're going to be accepting immigrants without any federal help at all. And when I say any federal help, none. We are receiving no money from the feds. We have some representatives trying to find money in Washington, but no one's really been successful yet. It's been very disappointing. We had a sub budget that we did about 4 months ago, and spent $250 million on immigrants. And the Washington delegation showed up with $2 million, about 246 million short, but 48 million short. So you can see we're in this fight all by ourselves. And what we've done is shrunk down the program to make it more efficient and get people in and out and try to get them working papers and get them jobs. Right now, we're lucky our economy is fairly strong. The job numbers are up. We did have, at one of the shelters in the North Shore, we had a boatload of folks go up to Salem Hospital, and they staffed all the maintenance jobs and all the cleaning jobs and all the unskilled jobs in the hospital. It gives them an opportunity to earn money. It gives them an opportunity to assimilate into the culture, and that's what we need. We're not doing it fast enough, but I don't know if we'll ever do it fast enough to keep pace with the immigration need. We need a
Especially when
plan.
it doesn't look like it's slowing down.
It doesn't, no. And that's the frustrating part. We thought the winter would slow people down. It really didn't. It's been a steady stream. And we see nothing on the horizon that indicates that it's going to slow down. So it's very frustrating. I'm sitting here now thinking about putting a budget together, not this year, because the budget for this year is just about done. Next year, adding $1 billion to what we have now and not having any income to pay for it. It's like your budget at home. All of a sudden you get a tax bill for $1 billion. You don't have that money in the bank. You're not going too far. So it is something that I'm concerned about, because now you're going to start into harming our residents, the folks who depend on our programs. The only place we can get the money is from those programs, is we start to harm our residents and the people who live here. It's not something we want to do, but we may be forced to do it, at least in the short term, to stay afloat. So it's a real challenge, to be honest with you. We're going to need help, and I don't know where it's going to come from.
As a former
Other than that, that's the good news.
as a former educator, this next topic, MCAS, the importance of the weight of MCAS, your opinion. I think you've been pretty outspoken on this.
Yeah, well, I worked in the school system for 12 years. MCAS was created as a result of a huge influx of state money into the school systems. And with it, the legislature, both the House and the Senate and the governor, wanted some accountability, some responsibility for performance. And they came up with the MCAS after a few years of bickering back and forth. And I think the results of the MCAS has been pretty significant. There's only 700 people, give or take a few, that don't pass the MCAS. And most of those folks who don't pass are a result of language difficulties, late arrivals here to America, and not being fluid in the English and being able to puzzle through the test. But there are alternatives for them, and they seem to get through using some of the alternative test methods. So I really don't see this push to get rid of the MCAS as being the smartest thing to do right now. I think that we should continue to make sure that the fundamental lessons in our school system are taught throughout the system, rather than falling back to 131 testing systems, because we have 131 cities and towns in Massachusetts.
So what you're talking about is keep standardized testing.
Yeah, so you know where how kids are doing and how the progress is going. I don't know. It's not a significant barrier to graduation. So the fact that 700 kids out of, I think we have 3,000, I don't know how many kids we have in our school systems, but it's significant. We only have about 720 or 750, I don't know what the number is, but it's just over 700. They're not passing it. Tells me that we're on the right track. That's not a number that causes me a lot of concern.
When I had Senator John Keenan and we spoke about this next topic, a topic I'm going to discuss now with you, and that's something called revenge porn.
We did it twice. They never did it in the Senate. So finally they've got religion. They did it. So.
For those folks that don't know what revenge porn is.
Well, relationships have changed in the media age, and you find folks doing things that probably they wouldn't have done if they couldn't film each other. And embarrassing photos being exchanged between couples. Well, then when they're not couples, exchanging photos with someone else is not something that either one of the spouses may want to do. And there was no law against doing that. And about 3 years ago, we passed this bill, and it went to the Senate, and nothing happened. Then we brought it up again, and this second time they acted on it. So we will get a bill that makes this illegal now. So.
Something that we're coming down towards the end of the program, I do want to talk about the House and the success of passing gun reform. And the Senate has their own version. Hopefully by the end of this July, I believe the end of this fiscal year, there will be something done now that both bills have passed or cleared both houses.
Well, that would be the hope. They were both done in different committees, so that was a problem. The Senate refused to go along with us doing it out of the Criminal Justice Committee, which means now it has a whole different slant to it than the one that we had. So that's one set of problems. The issue has been, we reacted strictly to the decisions of the Supreme Court. What we wanted was a bill that fit the parameters of the decision that the Supreme Court made, so that it couldn't be challenged and it couldn't be stricken. Now, I haven't thoroughly read the Senate bill. The conference committees began negotiations 2 days ago. They are meeting regularly and will continue to meet. How close to a compromise we get is yet to be determined. I do know that some of the big things in there we will do, because we're pretty much in agreement. We want to get rid of ghost guns that are manufactured and some of them don't even have serial numbers, guns that hit the market with that are untraceable. We create a real problem with law enforcement in all our cities and towns now. And we also did more in our bill about the mental health conditions of licensing. We're very concerned that people, and you saw it up in Maine, where people who obviously should not have guns get licenses, and family members who know this aren't stepping up to help identify these folks. And
It's so frustrating.
it is frustrating because it's always the family members that end up getting hurt. You know, it's just crazy that you think out of self-protection, you wouldn't want these folks who are stressed to get guns. But we continue to try and educate folks and say that, you know, most murders are suicide. I mean, most deaths from guns are suicides. And that's a frightening number itself. Putting guns in the hands of people who aren't as adjusted as they should be, and it puts them in a difficult position. So we're trying to make some changes on that. We'll see what the Senate bill how it matches up and what we can come up with. So
I do want to end this program with speaking of the passing of former Congressman, District Attorney Bill Delahunt. And one of the most powerful pieces that he put forward was it was the country's, I think, first prosecutional unit on domestic violence and sexual assault.
yeah, Bill was a leader in that. It was something that started in his office, and I think Bonnie Frank had the great quote when he was in Congress, when he was on the Judiciary Committee, and one of the Republicans said that Democrats were soft on crime, and Bonnie Frank said, look at Delahunt. He said, he's put more people in jail than this whole committee put together. And Bill was very active in protecting domestic violence victims. He had the first unit. He had hired someone to just deal with domestic violence cases. He was just a leader, and not just domestic violence. So he was a leader in a lot of different things. He got into the energy, and as he moved into Congress, you know, he was pro-choice he was pro-life when he started, and then he evolved to being a pro-choice representative. So he was a leader, and he was a friend. I helped run 10 towns for him when he ran for Congress, and Paul Haley and I ran the Weymouth recount, which ended up being what turned the vote around for him. But it was a joy to be around Bill Delahunt.
He left a legacy.
He really did. He could talk to anyone, and he would work with people. That's the lesson that I hope people take from his life in politics. You don't stop talking. You never get a deal if you stop talking. And we're seeing that in Washington now. Nothing's happening, and nothing's going to happen unless they start talking to each other. But Bill was always one that I once asked him, how is it going to Washington? He said, not different from being in the State House, just more people. And
That's
if you
how
think
he saw
about
it.
it, that's how he saw it.
Yeah.
You know, he was doing the same job, just instead of 160 people, he had 435 now to deal with. So it didn't faze him in the bit. So he's a remarkable man.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for joining me on today's program. Certainly welcome you back to QATV to talk more in the future.
Sure. I'm around.
All right, I like to hear that. And thank you at home for watching. And please remember to support local access television in the community in which you reside.